How's it going, PC gamers? Bobby Gooden here once again from Ironhammers.org, and today I've come with a live stream for a change. I thought I'd do it in case some of you wanted to watch live and get involved in the chat. And I'm basically going to be talking about all the new Steam announcements. So I'm trying to manage a live stream and talk to you in the camera and all this kind of stuff at the same time. So bear with me. It's kind of strange. But if you do want to get involved at any time during the show, because there's a bit of a delay, so it's a bit strange trying to track comments, but do tweet at Ironhammers, and I shall be watching them throughout the show, as you can see on the screen, and I'll hopefully bring your thoughts into the conversation. So if you're wondering what on earth is going on with Steam, and you don't know what on hell I'm talking about, then you're probably not here, because most of you will have heard about it. Steam have announced a bunch of announcements this week. They've announced an operating system. They've announced some machines that are coming, some actual kind of console computer things. They're going to be all different, and there's no limit to what they could possibly be. So not really necessarily small, not really necessarily big. And the final one today was a new controller, which if you've seen it is very peculiar looking indeed, and they're kind of completely changing the game as far as how gaming controllers go. So your overall thoughts at any time, tweet at Ironhammers, and I'll get on with the first part of it. I'm going to go through each one individually and kind of talk about some of the features perhaps, and then at the end I'll kind of share my thoughts on what I think is going to happen with it, because I'm actually quite excited about some of it, not so excited about other parts of it, but we'll go through them one at a time and see. So first up, the Steam OS, which is perhaps my personal favorite one of them all, and it's going to be a new operating system based on Linux, and it will be straight up into Steam pretty much. So basically all the Linux games for Steam will work on it natively, and there's a bunch of other features which I'll get to, such as in-home streaming, which is the big one here, and that's going to allow you to stream your PC games from your other computer to your Steam OS computer that's attached to your living room. So the whole thing about this is obviously living room. This operating system is geared towards your living room. It's probably not geared towards replacing Windows on your main gaming PC, although it could work as a standalone console or PC when it launches. Other features will include music, TV, and movies, family options, so there'll be parental controls and all that kind of stuff, and family sharing, which is something that is in beta on Steam and might be worth talking about, because I have been using it a little bit. It's a bit different to what we thought it might be at the beginning. It doesn't allow you just to go onto your friends list and say, hey buddy, do you want to share a game with me on Steam? It doesn't quite work like that. You have to actually log in on the actual computer with your Steam account. So you have to either go around to your friend's house and log in, or if you want to risk it, share your password with them so that they can log in. And then once you've logged in, you can then share your library with that actual computer, and it will authorize it for that actual computer. So whenever someone else logs in on that computer, no matter who it is, they will have access to your games on that computer. So that feature is pretty much a feature that is going to be heavily directed towards this new operating system rather than the older Steam, as it might seem, although it works on both. It works very well. If anyone else logs into my computer on Steam now, they will have access to all my games, provided I'm not logged in. But it's going to be more of a thing where, like anything else that's connected to your TV in the living room, lots of different people are going to be using it, and so the family sharing comes into play. But yeah, if you get a chance to check it out, it's quite cool. And if you do share your computer with others, it's pretty nice to be able to play their games and for them to be able to play your games. But the OS as a whole I'm pretty excited for it, because I have a second computer that runs Linux already that is connected to the TV, and I'm going to replace that with Steam OS, no doubt, providing that the music, TV, and movie stuff is obviously up to scratch. So if it doesn't have access to certain features, if I can't get just a normal web browser up, should I wish to, if I can't use Netflix or something like that, like a big streaming service, it doesn't have support, because it is a bit weird with Netflix and Linux, because Netflix uses Silverlight, and to get it working on Ubuntu Linux, you have to actually kind of use the Firefox version for Windows and then install it onto Linux using Wine, and then you can install Silverlight, and then you can watch Netflix. It's not quite as straightforward as just going to netflix.com, so hopefully Valve will manage to sort something out to fix that part of it, and hopefully make it really easy just to load it up and watch videos, whether it be YouTube, Netflix, or any other service. But the OS is going to be a massive step because it's going to be open, and the small text at the bottom of this page is really the key part, and it says basically that it's going to be downloadable soon for free, and that it's going to be a freely licensable operating system for manufacturers. So that means that not only will anybody else be able to install it, manufacturers will be able to install it and sell it on their machines ready installed. So the second part of the announcement was, of course, Steam machines, which are going to be the hardware part of the equation. And in that part, I don't think so many of us guys who are actually PC gamers will be really too concerned about the Steam machines part, because most of us will build our own computers, and if we were going to put something in the living room connected to the TV, it would probably be a computer that we made ourselves once again, unless they come out at a really, really cheap price and you can get one that does what you want it to do at the power level that you want it to be, and actually comes in cheaper than building your own, then perhaps that might become an option. But to look at some of the things that they're saying about the actual machines, and that is basically that it's not a one-size-fits-all world, and that they will be a whole host of different features in the machines and different levels and various hardware configurations that they're going to use. But they're going to make a prototype first, which they're going to make 300 of and send them out to Steam users. And it also tells you on here how you can apply for that, but I'm sure you've all seen that, and you're probably all rushed over to sign up because everyone wants to see what's happening. And this part of the announcement was really, really vague, because it just says they're going to release a hardware thing in beta as a kind of concept prototype thing. And then I assume that when we see the actual devices come out, that they will be made by other manufacturers and perhaps not made by Valve, like the prototype one is. That seems to be the way it's going to go, and that's the way I hope it goes. I hope we see loads of manufacturers making these things in all different shapes and sizes. But that part, like I say, for us guys who are PC gamers already, probably not such a big, exciting part of it all. The final part of the equation was, of course, the kind of strangest one of them all, which was the controller. So it kind of needed something to tie all together. It needed a controller, essentially. And if you haven't seen it yet, it's completely different to what you might have expected it to look like. It has no thumbsticks. It has a screen in the middle which depresses like a button. It has a completely different configuration. So instead of analog sticks, as you can see in the picture, it has these kind of trackpad things, which I think are pretty cool. Now, Valve are saying on their website that it makes it much closer to a mouse to be used in shooters and things like that, and they even claim that you'll be able to play like RTSs with it and stuff, but I ain't quite gonna believe that, because it can't be done without a mouse and keyboard. There's just not enough buttons, and there's not enough level of control to be able to like actually box stuff and things like that. But they are depressible, so you can use them as buttons as well as trackpads. And people on Twitter, somebody I was speaking to on Twitter was saying that it looks a bit like a touchscreen interface. We had a bit of a back and forward. I'll bring it up on the screen here for you. So he was saying it kind of looks no different than on-screen thumbsticks on tablets. So my argument was that it's going to be better than that. So for me personally, I find that using a touchscreen device for games like that, I actually prefer it to a thumbstick, because I'm so used to playing with a mouse and it is so much more like a mouse. However, there is obviously no tactile feedback, which is the massive problem. Various people have designed things you can stick on to try and make it work. Just not the same. But if you look at the picture of the controller, you can see that it seems to be slightly concaved, so you can feel how close to the edge you are, and there's ridges so you can feel how far away from the middle you are, and it looks like it's going to be really, really cool. So I'm really excited to get my hands on it and actually try one, just to see how well they work. So now the other big concern here though is going to be price, because how much does that thing cost to make? I'm not sure. Nobody's obviously sure. but it doesn't look like a cheap controller. Unless the display is really not very high quality, it's hard to tell on the picture. It doesn't look like it's overly a complicated screen, like it's quite small obviously, and in the picture we just see black and white on it, so whether it will have color on it or not, I don't know. It will be able to be programmed to display different things from in-game, such as maps and all that stuff, kind of like the Wii U does. But it'll also be able to function as buttons and other things as well. The prototype version doesn't have the screen in the middle actually, it just has 4 buttons there. But you can also see there's 2 buttons each side next to the sticks, so you don't have your 4 face buttons on one side and your thumbsticks on another side and then have to hunt for the second thumbstick. You can use the 4 buttons on the side, and there's also obviously trigger buttons and other buttons underneath there. And if we look at this second picture that they released, you can see how they've mapped the keys for Portal 2 onto the controller, and obviously the left one is up and down and back and forward, left and right. The right stick is, which isn't a stick, is to look around, as you might imagine, and then the other buttons are programmed for like communication on the right side, just your menu, and then on the left hand side we have a push to talk button, and on the triggers we have the portal firing buttons and to zoom in and zoom out, all that kind of stuff, and it tells you exactly which key it's actually programmed to, because you are going to be able to program it to work. So it's like emulating a mouse and keyboard, so it should work with actually any game that is in existence. They reckon it will work with every single Steam game, which is pretty cool if it works. This is going to be wireless. The prototype is going to be wired. Looks a bit different. I wouldn't worry about that because there's not much chance that any of us watching this, or me, is going to get our hands on the prototype, as there's only 300 of them. But the controller looks really cool. I think it's a step in the right direction. I'm glad to see somebody do something completely different, and I'm glad that they haven't just gone with normal thumbsticks, because it wouldn't have worked with the vast majority of Steam's library. So it would have been a bit silly to do so. It's good to see that they're trying to do something to fix all that and tie it all together. And overall, I think it's all the whole thing. Nobody's tweeted in. I know there's only a couple of you watching live. Hopefully many of you will leave comments and share your thoughts after watching the recorded video, which is probably how many of you will be watching it, seeing as I'm recording it at midnight on a Friday night. I know, right? Ideal timing, I know. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited to see it. I can't imagine myself buying an actual Steam machine ever. I can imagine using the OS a lot. I think the streaming feature is going to be a great way to bridge that gap between library sizes on Windows and Linux, because the big problem obviously is going to be AAA titles on Linux that you can't play on a Steam box, and to have some kind of streaming feature there so that you can play your other titles on the TV that aren't actually native Linux versions is a really important step between an eventual crossover to Linux. Obviously Nvidia have said something this week about Linux, how they're going to help their open source drivers become better. AMD have obviously been talking about it for a little while as well, and they've also been doing other stuff as well. An interesting thing came from them about their new Mantle API, which will allow people to go straight to the hardware, which is something that I've heard developers request in the past. I've heard developers directly say, I wish we could just access the hardware directly. So hopefully that would work on Linux as well. I'm not sure. I don't understand that stuff. I'm way too dumb to be able to understand how the hardware works. I mean, I can build a computer, but it's voodoo from that point on. But yeah, it all looks really, really cool, and the OS is going to be the biggest thing for me. Let me know what you think is going to be the best part for you. Are you excited about it? Do you think it's all dumb? Do you think Valve should stick to what they're doing now? I'm really excited that perhaps this could help some big developers make Linux versions of games. I know there's plenty of PC gamers out there who would love to be able to ditch Linux, and I've directly said myself that I would love a version of Steam that just puts straight into Linux. I said it on one of the podcasts not so long ago, and that's pretty much exactly what they've done. Can't wait to see more about it. Apparently from next week we're going to hear about the specs of the prototype Steambox build, so keep an eye out for that. Perhaps there'll be another video or a post on the website when that's announced to let you know what's going down. Not that you can miss it, it's absolutely everywhere. So do like the video, If you'd like me to do some more live things, perhaps at a more reasonable time, let me know. And leave a comment, tell me what you're thinking about all this new Steam stuff. And I'll see you soon, guys. Take care.